Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome back. I have a spectacular, amazing, tremendous, unbelievably rare, iconic toy for you today. Probably one of the greatest toys you'll ever see on the internet. And this is not hyperbole. My friends, I bring you the amazing, I don't even know if this has ever been videotaped other than me. And this toy has an amazing story that I'll get into. This is the rare Popeye olive oil tank, battery operated, the most valuable non-robot, non-anime style character toy, battery operated toy ever made. Period. End of sentence. Before I get into this holy grail, please take a second to subscribe and make yourself comfortable. Get yourself a beverage, grab that cup of coffee, get your snack, get your scotch, get your rum, get your Jägermeister, get your cinnamon schnapps, whatever it is. Get cozy because man, oh man, is this the mother lode of collectability, the apex of battery toys, the most valuable battery toy. Again, non-robot, non-anime character, but the most valuable battery toy in the world, the most valuable Popeye toy in the world, one of the rarest toys in the world. Where else will you ever see something this spectacular other than this channel? So by now, if you're lurking and you're like, is this true? You bet your behind it is. And you know what? You better subscribe, man, because you're not going to find this anywhere else. You, my friends, are on the cutting edge of amazing toys, period, bar none. With that out of the way, let's get into this toy. Why is it so special? I don't know. And I'm going to tell you an amazing story about this toy. I purchased this toy approximately 23 years ago. This exact toy. At the time, I set a record price on eBay for this type of toy. So it had to be the late 90s, I believe. Maybe early 2000s, but I believe it was the late 90s. And I bought it out of Australia, of all places, down under with the kangaroos, the poisonous scorpions, and the poisonous snakes. I was afraid to open the box, thinking, oh my God, what the hell's in this box? It's probably a poisonous kangaroo snake. But you know what? It wasn't. It was the toy. And it was so newsworthy at the time that it was written about in Antique Week by someone that specializes in PR for toys. And for now, she's still in doing this type of work for live auctioneers and things like that. So they wrote a big story about this. And me personally, they said, this person, yada, 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 Ozzy bought this tank. What made you buy it? Yada, 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 yada. But it was in print. I still have a copy of it somewhere. But they wrote this whole interesting tale about it. So I was really happy to own this toy. And nice to see your name in print, right? Not internet, though. So there's no digital record of it, right? Now we have digital fingerprints. But back then, it was just newsprint. And it was a newsprint style, like newspaper type. So probably one of those types of publications. It doesn't last unless you, store it in a good environment, to preserve it. So anyway, decades passed and passed and passed. And the auctioneer contacted me months ago and said, you know what, are you familiar with this toy? I know you've been looking for one. I said, yes, I've been looking. I regret it. And why did I did get rid of it after a couple of years. Why? Because I was able to get a trade on a robot. And again, I made the transition out of all battery toys into the robots. And I said, you know what? I can get a lot of nice robots with this toy. And I did. But, you know what? I regretted it for a long time. And you know what? I never thought I would get a boxed example. And now there have been, I think, one other boxed examples. But I got to tell you, honestly, at an auction house, I think I've seen one or two. No, honestly, just one. I know of one boxed one that sold at auction, and at a fairly relatively inexpensive price, but during a lull in prices. One in like 30 years. I can't remember. Could there have been two? Yeah, it's possible there were two auctioned off, but not to my knowledge. So anyway, he sent me the picture, and I said, you know what? Now we get into the box. I said, holy mackerel. This is my toy, my actual toy that I owned. And he goes, how do you know? And I showed him my old pictures. I still had them. And I had this exact writing on it. I said, I'll be damned. That's my toy. I believe I even had this little crack over here too. So I said, holy mackerel, can I buy it outright? And he was like, hell no. I am going to gouge you for as much money as possible. And I believed it. So anyway, I did make copies of this box art because, you know, later on, years after, I did find one without the Popeye. And I think I used the tumbler. And somebody actually used the Popeye tumbler. So I found the tank loose, and I had the artwork. I made a box for it, and I used the tumbler Popeye. It was one of those loose Popeye toys, not the one that came on this tank. And I was able to create a facsimile, if you will, but it was the real tank with olive oil in it. And that's what makes it spectacular, is olive oil. But anyway, once again, it's like you're watching a cartoon. And I almost didn't want to show this. I want this to be a professional video, but you know what? My tale that will regale you now is not going to be in a professional video. My professional videos, when they're able to be made, are just going to be of the toy working and no narration and things like that. So you know what? Now you hear my tale. So anyway, this toy, you may or may not know, went to auction. And it sold for a record-breaking price, which unfortunately I had to pay. But that's the way it goes in life, you know. And I retrieved my toy. That's the main thing. And I was able to reacquire. This is about the only time I've been able to reacquire my actual old toy over 20 years later. So I'm happy. So Catherine Saunders Watson was the person, the journalist that wrote the article. And I have to contact her. She may want to write a follow-up story. You know, 23 years later, this lunatic got his toy back. And man, am I a happy camper, you know, regardless of the cost. So here is the writing that was all in my previous picture. And it passed by the Japanese Manufacturer Toy Industry Association. That name I just made up, but that sounds good, right? It sounds like it's a plausible name. And again, the side panel is the same. What makes this tank spectacular is the fact that there's a tin olive oil in it. So unlike the Superman tank, right? Superman doesn't have Lois Lane. Imagine if the Superman tank had Lois Lane saying, "Oh my God, save me, Soups." And there's a Sweet Pea, which, you know, there was an error in my Popeye boat video, which I know I will post the Popeye boat before this. So let's see if anyone, and my wife actually mentioned it to me. She said, let's see if anyone picks up the error of your ways in describing your Popeye boat. So we'll see. We will see. That's your beautiful box. Looks like you're watching your syndicated cartoon. I will pick this up. This is a hard toy to watch, or to film anyway. Let's see if I could show you anything. You know, we'll try to get a little close up, give you a little hint of Popeye. One of the things you want to make sure that if you ever do get lucky enough to find this toy, you want his original rubber nubs at the legs there on both sides, and you want his original rubber pipe. Those are key, my friends. Make sure you have that stuff. And here's the other side. And you know what? Popeye was cutting edge, man, because you know what? Back in the day, Popeye had tattoos when they were not in vogue, except for rugged sailors, though. So let's see the best way. I don't want to get too crazy with this because I had a hell of a time getting this thing even to turn on. To be honest with you, underneath, well, you know what? I will try to show you underneath. Because of this loose character, though, it's kind of hard. You can see the syndication. It's also a licensed toy, and it wants a dry battery like my dry martini. Anyway, so let's see. I'm going to move the camera now. I'm going to pick it up. It's going to fly over like it's a Superman itself, because I don't know how far I'm going to have to follow this around. But anyway, you're going to have a little bit of the shakes here. And let's hope to God this thing turns back on. Popeye is strong. Strong, strong, strong. He definitely ate his spinach to move a tank. Well, blow me down, he did it. I think the toy had a lot of mechanical mishaps. It's fairly complex. That's why I don't want to run it all that much, but I'm going to tell you something else that's kind of neat about my old, well, not my old, when I had this toy, if you know the Ozzy's Robots website, right, it was actually my wife's website, believe it or not, although I did add a few little spicy things in there, like what I did when I had this toy. I use my Sony Mavica, and you can find on one of those weird pages, like I think it's one of the auction pages, I actually film like a few second clips of this toy working. I was so excited to get it back then, you know, that it's almost GIF sized. Like they're so small. Little tiny GIFs of this tank operating, you know, and at that time it was the first time anyone had ever shown this. Now I haven't scoured YouTube. It's possible somebody has a working example of this. I don't recall it. I don't know that I've even searched it, but you know, I don't think anyone's done an in-depth, comprehensive review like this. And with the tail, you know, the acquisition and the reacquisition. And I hope that I can get Catherine Watson to do another follow-up article, because I think it's a great human interest story. And she could tie it into the collection opening, too. That would be good for her. So, you know what? Let's take another flyby look to look at some more of the details. Because like I said, this is, you know, crossover collector. And, you know, you're looking at one of the most valuable toys in the world at this point. At this moment in time, this is by far one of the most valuable toys in the world, with buyer's premium approaching 6 figures, my friend. Yep, 6 figures, if you can believe it. Crazy, huh? Crazy, crazy, crazy. So we'll look at, and it's still relatively in the same shape as when I bought it. It didn't age. You know, I'd be interesting to see if it had that little bit, that little spot there, things like that. You know, but it's still very, very glossy. The tank's pointed to his head. And, you know, again, the thing I remember is that this was really the best box of any of them that I had seen. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say, oh, turn it on again. Well, we'll give it one more whirl. Mind it running again. But it's almost like I feel this thing could just like, something about it, man, it makes me feel like, whoa, get back in focus. It makes me feel like it can almost break at any moment. I don't know why, but it's just that feeling, you know. It's like one of those things, maybe because of the value, maybe just because the complexity of the mechanism. I'm like, you know what, that is enough. So anyway, let me know what you think of this spectacular Popeye toy. Look, Olive's like, let me out. But I like to position the toys in a certain way. I think that kind of wraps it up. So this, is definitely the King of the Mountain for battery toys. And again, for Popeye toys, by far, I don't think there's anything remotely close to this toy. And the action, the bidding on this was very spirited, I could tell you that much. And there's a lot of people that were hoping to get it. And you know what? In the end, there's only going to be one winner, right? So as far as the interest in Popeye, it'll be funny to see how the market reacts, because again, I think when we're in this climate where the monopoly money dollars are kind of like losing a little steam, maybe people like to have investments in assets like this, because this really is kind of an asset at this point. So I think that's kind of it on the toy. I appreciate your time. This went a little longer, but I feel that this toy deserved a little bit longer exposure than the normal, 5 to 9 minutes, 10 minutes. So again, if you like this kind of stuff, thumb up the video. If you like this toy in particular, you know what? Leave a remark and say, you know what? That was awesome. I'm glad I got to see the Popeye olive oil tank. And as always, don't forget, again, to subscribe. I appreciate all the time you spend watching this stuff. And thank you to any new and old subscribers alike. And with that, stay tuned for my future videos. And I, my friends, will talk to you later.